Hi guys, I'm Linda.
And I'm Vicky.
And we are Partners in Crime. So today we are going to do our wine segment, and Vicky brought us some nice wine from New Zealand.
Yeah, it's Oyster Bay and it's Sauvignon Blanc. And I like this. I think it's pretty good. It's a white wine and it's kind of mellow. Not too sweet, but it does have a little sweetness to it, I think. It's, again, you know me, that's why I like it. So, anyway, we thought we'd give it a try, and you should try it as well.
Yep, I'm going to try it because I haven't tried it yet. I think I have had an Oyster Bay before, but not this.
Taste the sweetness in it?
Yes, it is very good. My favorite whites have a lot of grapefruit in them, and I feel like this has a lot of grapefruit flavor in it. I could be wrong, but to me it tastes like citrusy grapefruit.
There is a citrusy taste to it.
So definitely Oyster Bay. Really good.
Yep.
Yep.
Kind of tingly going down too. So must be good.
Yeah. No, I really like it. Like I said, I like wines that taste like grapefruit, and I feel like this does. So today we're going to have a discussion on the Chris Watts case. We do know that this is an old case, but we've never talked about it because we're newer to YouTube. So we wanted to kind of bring our take on the story, and maybe we'll have some new information that you've never heard before.
Right.
So we're going to do that today. So the Watts family murders occurred in the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018 in Frederick, Colorado. Chris Watts is the father, or the husband. Shanann, now I heard an interview with her mom. I always hear people pronounce her name differently. Her mom pronounced it Shanann. So I'm gonna just say Shanann because it's easier for me because I get tripped up when I try to say Shanann.
Okay.
So Shanann Watts, and then they had two little girls. So they had two little girls. There was a 4-year-old named Bella and a 3-year-old named Celeste, who they called Cece.
Yeah.
Shanann was also about 15 weeks pregnant when she was murdered. And to begin with, Shanann and Chris met on Facebook. She got a friend request from him, and that's how their relationship began. They did both live in North Carolina. Shortly after they got married, I think they were going out together for 2 years. They got married, and then soon after they moved to Colorado. Shanann was very she was a real go-getter. When she was 25, she actually built her first house on her own.
She did it on her own.
Yeah, and she had lupus, so she had a lot of struggles as she was going through all of this. And the reason why, well, one of the reasons why she really loved Chris was he was there for her. He took care of her, especially when she had flare-ups. So she used to say he was her knight in shining armor. And her mom even said that she thought he was a blessing from God. Like, they just all loved him. They never, ever thought that anything like this would happen.
Devoted to his girls, he seemed very, very attached and just loving towards them.
Yes, yeah. And they were going to name their son Nico. So they already had the name picked out and everything else.
Cute name.
Yeah. Shannon's friend Nicole knew there was something wrong. You have to understand, Shanann was the kind of person that was always on social media. Her life was on Facebook. Every day she was on there posting. Every day she was talking to friends. She worked for, she had a sales position at some marketing position at some company.
Yeah.
And that was her lifeline, was her phone. So she was always on social media, always on the phone, always talking to her friends and family. the night before, her and her friend Nicole, who was also working for this company, went to a sales meeting in Arizona. She was dropped off at her house early in the morning, and Nicole called her the next day because they always kept in touch, and she knew Shanann was going to her first doctor's appointment for the new baby, so she was all excited about that. Nicole couldn't get in touch with her, and she was really worried because you could always get in touch with Shanann. She knew something was wrong, so she actually went to her house. She had a code. She gave her a code so she could go in just in case she needed anything, or if there was anything wrong. Mm-hmm. She couldn't get in because the door was locked from inside. So that was peculiar. And she looked in the garage and saw Shannon's vehicle in there, and the car seats were in the car. So they called Chris, and he said, oh, everything's fine. They were going on a play date. And she's like, they're not on a play date because the car's in the garage. He just acted like, oh, nothing's wrong. He was at work, didn't care about it, and went on with his day. So then Nicole went to the doctor's office where Shanann was supposed to have her appointment, and they said she was a no-show as well. So she was really, really upset at that point, and this was later in the morning. She then called the police around 1:30 p.m. that day. They came out to the house. Chris actually wound up coming home at that point.
Right.
A lot of this information I got from the Dr. Phil episodes, the podcast. So basically, a lot of the stuff that he said, because he is a psychologist, or
Dr. Phil? Yeah.
He was saying that when you're looking at Chris, there should be a watershed event, he called it, where someone goes into shock. It really hits them that something major has happened. This never happened with Chris. He was the same way the whole time. He didn't change his demeanor. Only when he felt that thing that they knew what was up did he start changing his demeanor. But because he was a sociopath, he can't mimic sympathy or empathy or concern. So those things, these type of personalities cannot do. So in watching the interview that they did with Chris on his front porch, really showed a lot to especially Dr. Phil and everyone watching it.
Yeah, there was no emotion. He was just, I just want them home.
Yeah.
That's what he said. But, well, I guess the watershed event would have been the
police being there, and everyone's concerned, and they can't get in touch with her. When they did go in the house, Shannon's phone was in there. She would never leave without her phone. Also, her purse and her wedding ring was in there. Chris didn't call any family or friends when the police were there and Nicole was there. He just kept texting casually. Chris had tells for lying. Dr. Phil said there are subconscious things that people do when they are these personality types, that, or even anyone that's trying to lie. There are certain things that people do that you can't control. Your body just does these things. So he was smiling when he was talking, rocking back and forth. They call that self-soothing. He was doing that, laughing. And Dr. Phil calls that duping the light. And then he would give you vague answers and deflect. And he didn't use his family's names. He would which is called distancing. So he didn't want to say their names. And he did say Bella's name once. He did say Shannon's name once too. But he talked about Bella in the past tense.
Oh, wow.
So closed body position, when someone's like this, standing there or talking, that's a closed body position. That's trying to protect themselves. And then everything he did was inappropriate. And I know we've talked about this before. I said more than 95%, but 95% of the time it is the spouse. I did notice that the girls' beds were unmade. Shanann was very particular, kept everything really spotless, so that was not something that she did. And Chris just said, oh yes, she doesn't make the beds. In the master bedroom, the sheets were off the bed, which was strange. One of the sheets was in the trash.
Ooh.
So
That's a red flag.
yeah, again, then their neighbor Nate, I think he lived across the street. He has security cameras, so he brought over the footage for them to watch. And Chris was there while the police and Nate were watching the videotape. They showed in the early hours, Chris backed his truck into the garage. You couldn't see if he brought anything in or if anybody went in there. So that was a big thing. There was no footage of Shanann or the girls leaving the house. So they saw Shanann go in, never saw her come out. Nate said that he just wasn't acting right.
Right.
He could tell he just was not, even though he was a kind of a quiet, closed off person, he just wasn't acting right.
He was a little bit more, what's the word? A little more
introverted.
Most of the time, but when he was with Nate, he was moving around a little bit more.
Yeah, and he was going like this when they were watching,
Yeah.
so that was a big tell too,
Right.
to the police.
And actually the police said, well, you know, they excused it at that time.
Right.
They said, you know, he's missing his wife and his kids, you know, maybe that's a reaction.
But he didn't do that until he saw the video of his truck going in there. Nate said he would hear Shanann and Chris argue at the top of their lungs a lot. There were a lot of things going on within the months before they went missing.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I got the feeling, you know, just by what I was reading about them, that she was very controlling.
She was, and she even said, I heard things that she even said that she wanted things her way, which is understandable because she was very driven. Yeah. And for her to, at a young age, make her build her own house, I mean, that's really impressive. So you kind of understand. And if Chris went along with it, I don't fault her at all. If he had a problem with it, he should be able to speak up and say, let's talk about this. Let's do this.
But I think she did a couple of times want him to. What's the word? Emasculate? Because she felt that she was emasculating him.
Right.
When she realized... you know, what she had said or what, you know, they're arguing about was. So.
And, you know, I understand that. Like I said, she's a driven person. It was his responsibility as her spouse to communicate with her. Yeah. So I don't like when people try to pin things on a strong person because the other person can't speak up. And they use that as an excuse to...
I'm not saying...
No, I'm not saying you, but have an affair. These people will act like this and say, well, I didn't like what this person did to me.
Oh, yeah.
You don't talk to them. So that's your fault, but yet they run and have affairs. And
my wife is horrible to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I don't...
And the same thing with women. It goes the shoes on the other foot as well. Women are the same way. Well, I can't talk. So they go and venture somewhere else. That's your fault. And if this person doesn't let you talk, then you decide if you feel that you want to stay with this situation or leave. You don't have it both ways. And that's that's my take on society now. People have it both ways. And then when something like this happens, they're like, well, what else was I supposed to do? He should never have done this.
Yeah.
And when his twisted mind, that's what he thought was the best course because he wanted to be with someone else.
Right. That's the bottom line. Yeah. He wanted to be with whoever he was having the affair with.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about the other Nicole in our next video because there is a lot on her as well. Dr. Phil also said when he was on the porch and he was talking, saying, I want them back. He just kept saying, I want them back. He didn't say their names, nothing. When you're trying to appeal to someone, you will be open. You'll have an open position. You want to draw them into you. He was like this. I want them back so bad. Just his body language didn't show that. So he also referred to Shanann in the past tense, never cried or seemed like he was in pain. Chris said when he was asked by the police, did you guys have an argument? And he said, well, it wasn't an argument, it was an emotional discussion.
Okay.
Same thing, especially when you're married. Shannon's family, when they saw that interview, before that, they never, ever, ever in a million years would have thought that Chris would have ever done anything like this.
But that interview made them feel that he did.
They thought, oh my goodness.
Was that the
he
interview?
He did something on the porch.
With Dr. Phil? Or no,
on the porch. Well, I don't know when they told, I think they told Dr. Phil this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But seeing him on the porch was what really brought to light what they thought he could do. The marriage was rocky months before. Shanann went with the girls to North Carolina for like a month in the summer. Chris was supposed to come and stay with them as well. Maybe not for the whole time, but for a portion of it. He never did. He stayed in Colorado, and he was very distant. And Shannon's mother did realize that there was something going on. They did have money problems. In 2015, they filed for bankruptcy, and about 2018, they were about $70,000 in debt. So having a new baby coming into the picture, yes, it puts stress on a relationship. We're not saying that. We all deal with stress.
Did we say what he did for a living?
He worked for an oil company. Okay. So I don't have the specific title, but he was some kind of manager. And Chris did fail the lie detector test. He did go to the police station and failed. And on August 16th, it was 2 or 3 days after, he did confess. He asked for his dad to come in because he kind of knew that they had so much on him. His dad came in and he did confess to killing them. But he confessed to Shanann killing the daughters, him finding that, and then killing her.
Yeah, I remember hearing that actual interview.
What a horrible thing to do. It's not bad enough you killed your wife and kids, and then you're going to blame your wife for it.
I kind of think the detectives gave him that, because I remember during the interview, the woman who was questioning him said, did it happen because she heard something to that effect? Right.
And I think they were trying to at least bring out that he killed them. And being a good detective, I think she was trying to give him an out so he would admit to it. Yeah. And then doesn't matter what she says. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's the one that...
But I'm sure it seems that he thought, oh yeah,
this is what I can say.
Right.
And she was a good detective, because I listened to that too, and I was like, oh, she's giving him an out, and they were rubbing his back and, trying to get as much information. And I guess that's what they do. They try to
manipulate.
Be sympathetic, and that person as the manipulator, as the narcissist, is thinking, oh, they believe me. Let's give them this story.
Right. So, and when I remember she gave him the lie detector, at least
that woman did, that police officer did.
And she wasn't so sweet giving him the lie detector test. She's like, you failed it.
Right.
You did.
Yeah.
Let's hear what really happened. So.
Yeah. So I guess he knew the jig was up, and he's like, all right, they're giving me an out. Let me say this.
Use that, right?
So
that's what he said to his father.
Yeah. So that was the beginning. We're going to dive more into this for sure. Next, I think we're going to talk about the other woman, Nicole, and a lot of interesting things about her as well.
Right.
So she isn't everything she seems to be, and what really draws me in is the way people think, and the different type of personalities, and what they think they can get away with.
Right.
And like Dr. Phil said, a lot of people watch this or want to know about this kind of thing because they want to know, is the person that I'm living with is the person next door. Could this person be the same type of person?
Right.
You just never know.
Right.
Like they said on Facebook, everything was peachy. Shanann put everything on there and everything was just wonderful. How many people in your life are you friends with on Facebook that everything seems to be a bed of roses every time you pull them up?
And she did put her life out there.
Yeah.
On Facebook. Whatever
She
happened.
wanted us to see what she wanted us to see, though, because there was other stuff nobody knew of. With Chris, you know, she acted like he was like the best thing since sliced bread. And before we go, we wanted to say, click on the bell button, subscribe, leave comments, thumbs up, and if you can, please share this with others, your Facebook friends and other people that you know, Reddit, Instagram. It would be really cool to have people sharing our videos.
Right.
So.
Right. And, you know, when you hit that little bell, you get notified.
Yes.
That our videos are coming.
And we did have a really cool comment from one of our viewers. And Vicki, you want to say?
Yeah, she had said, and her name was Julie. Thank you, Julie. That she had a really bad day. And when she came home, the notification came up that said, here we are, we're on. And she said it just brightened her day to see us there. So it brightened our day to hear her say that.
For sure.
So thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
And please continue to watch. And like I said in my comment back to you, I hope you read it, you know, please share. Please let other people know.
Yep.
Because we would appreciate your referrals.
And we have the best viewers too. So
Yeah,
I just
we
have
do.
to say that. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.